Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, well, first of all, I know I haven't made a video in like several months, so if I'm a little rusty in front of the camera, please forgive me. But today I am going to be sharing all of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. We basically have 6 months worth of catching up to do, so I thought I would just share all of the best books that I've discovered. So at the beginning of the year, I discovered the world of Sarah J. Maas, and I know Sarah J. Maas has been around for a really long time, and actually I did read the first Throne of Glass book a really long time ago, but I gave up on the series. But this year, I actually read the whole Throne of Glass series, and I'm so glad that I actually read the whole thing because what a series. Like, what an actual series. And I don't think I have felt this strongly about a series since reading Harry Potter. This is like in my top 3 favorite books from this year so far. Queen of Shadows, I forget what number book this is in the series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 including the prequel. So Queen of Shadows was the book where I felt like things really took off, and I felt like we got to see a lot of Manon. Well, I think her name is actually pronounced Manon, but I call her Manon. And Manon is my favorite character in the series, and so we really got to see more of her, and just the plot just really thickens. And then another favorite of mine from the series is Tower of Dawn, and this follows Cale, and I know that Cale is not really a very popular character in the series, but I actually love him, and I know that's a very unpopular opinion, but I love Cale, and I loved reading a story that was like pretty much solely focused on him and his healing journey, and there's a love story. So I just feel like this was the calmest book in the series, which I really appreciated because I did the tandem read of this with Empire of Storms, and Empire of Storms was crazy, and so it was nice to have something nice and chill alongside of that. Another one of my favorites also from the Throne of Glass series is Kingdom of Ash, and this is the last book in the Throne of Glass series, and oh my gosh. Well, first of all, this is a brick of a book. It is huge. I think it's like the biggest book I've ever read. It's like nearly 1,000 pages, a little under, but it's a very, very long book. But I felt so emotional reading this because with Throne of Glass, it's just a very big journey that you go on with these characters, and then by the end of it, I was just so emotionally attached to this cast of characters, and I was bawling. And I very rarely have that big of an emotional response to books, but this book had my heart, and after finishing this, I had the biggest book hangover ever. And I think the problem was I started this year off with Throne of Glass, and it was just such an immersive series. I just started the year off on such a high note. It was just hard to find something that would compare to it, and so I definitely had a very large book hangover after reading Throne of Glass, but enough about that series. I also read from Sarah J. Maas the ACOTAR series, and I didn't love the ACOTAR series quite as much as Throne of Glass, but I still thought it was really fun, and this was my favorite in the series. And this is the 3rd book, A Court of Wings and Ruin. And so far, I relate the most to Elaine, and I'm really curious to see where her story is gonna go. I'm also slightly nervous. I hope that she stays a really soft character. So yeah, I just really loved this. It was very magical, and I would recommend this series to someone who wants to get into fantasy, because I feel like this was just an easier series than Throne of Glass. Throne of Glass was like really intense, really brutal, but this one leans more into the romance. So if you're a romance reader and you want to like start getting into fantasy, I would recommend this series. Next up, we have some Lynn Painter books. So the first Lynn Painter book I read was Better Than the Movies, and this was so cute. This was a very easy 5-star read for me, and if you're looking for something that is just so cute, so wholesome, I really recommend this. So Better Than the Movies is her young adult novel, which I actually preferred to her adult novel, but I still loved her adult novel, and this is The Love Wager. I would have given this a 5 stars if it weren't for the really strong language, but other than that, I love this book. I think Lynn Painter has such a way of writing things that, I don't know, it's just such a breezy way of writing. Like when you're reading it, it goes by so quickly and it's just a fun time. And she really makes me laugh out loud. And this one is about Hallie and Jack, and they make a bet on who can find love first. There's also fake dating in this, which is my favorite trope. And speaking of fake dating, this was one of my most anticipated reads for this year. This is Happy Place by Emily Henry. So this also had the fake dating trope, and honestly, for a book called Happy Place, I felt like this was probably her saddest book. It wasn't super sad, but it did feel melancholy. And I just really felt like the main character, Harriet, is a mirror ball girly. So if you relate to Taylor Swift's song Mirror Ball, then I think you'd like this book. And I loved the cast of characters in this. This has a bigger cast of characters than the previous Emily Henry books, and you are following this group of friends on vacation, and I just loved the group of friends. I felt like it was very authentic and they had their inside jokes. I loved the way that they interacted with each other. And something that I also appreciated about this was that you don't get a lot of like friendship groups in adult books. And I feel like that's more in young adult books. And so seeing that theme play out in an adult book was just so fun to read about and so relatable. And it talks about how friendships, there's like certain aspects of friendship that stays the same, but then there's other aspects that change over time, and I just really liked that. So not only do you get a romance, but you also get the friendship as well. And in the spring, I read The Secret Garden, and this is my first time reading this classic, and this book just really talks about the healing qualities of nature, and it's just really sweet, really kind of simple. But yeah, it just talks about like the power of positive thinking, taking care of your thoughts, getting fresh air, all of those things. So I don't know, I thought it was really cute. And then I did a couple of rereads this year, so I wanted to get into those. So I reread You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation. I don't know why the UK version and the US version has different titles, but People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So this was a very interesting reread for me because when I first read this book, I gave it 3 stars. I just felt like it was kind of okay, nothing amazing. But then this year, I reread it and it became my favorite friends to lovers story. I don't know how that happened. I think that sometimes you just read a specific book at a specific time and it just feels right. And I think that's what happened with this one. So I ended up giving this a 5-star, and I just love the dynamic of Poppy and Alex, and they're so vastly different. I am so much like Alex. He's very type A. He loves his cat, you know, he's just he lives life a little more carefully. And I relate so much to that, but I wish I were more like Poppy. So Poppy is definitely the more adventurous one. So I feel like I'm trying to channel my Poppy energy this summer. Also, I named my cat after Poppy, so I think she's just such a fun character. So basically this is about 2 best friends, 10 summer trips, and their last chance to fall in love. I just think this is the perfect summer read. Another perfect summer read that I reread was The Summer I Turned Pretty. And this is actually my third time reading this trilogy. I just have such an emotional connection to this trilogy because I first read this trilogy when I was 17, and Conrad Fisher was the OG boyfriend for me. Like, he was the book boyfriend, and to this day I still love him so much. He has such a special place in my heart, and so it's been really fun to revisit this trilogy, especially since season 2 of the show is coming out in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But yeah, it's been really fun. Also, I discovered the audiobooks have been re-recorded by the actress that plays Belly and also the boys that play Jeremiah and Conrad. So the audiobooks are amazing. They've been so fun to listen to while I've been doing my hot girl walks. So yeah. Another reread was The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is another one of those books where when I first read it, I think I gave it a 3-star, but then I reread it this year and I gave it 5 stars. And I don't know. I think I've just really... Actually, I really have no idea what it is, but rereading some of these books, I just really appreciated them more. And this is just the ultimate cute, fluffy romance story. You have Nathan, who is a football player, and you have Bree, who is a ballet dancer, and they're just so sweet. And this is a closed door romance, so if you're looking for something like that, I would really recommend. And so after that, I was on a very big Sarah Adams kick, and I ended up rereading When in Rome. This is about Amelia, who is a pop star, and she really just kind of wants to escape her life for a little while. So she finds herself in Rome, Kentucky, and this small town it just reminds me so much of Gilmore Girls. So if you love Gilmore Girls, this has that same comforting feel. And then you have the grumpy pie shop owner, who is named Noah. And I just loved Noah, and I also loved his sisters. So he has 3 sisters, and I related the most to Annie. And I was so excited because she did come out with a book that follows Annie's story. And Annie is a very introverted bookworm. She works at a flower shop, and she just isn't very confident when it comes to dating. And so she meets, actually it's Amelia's bodyguard, Will. She meets Will, and he's like the bad boy, and so it's very much like bad boy, good girl, and I love that. And so they start to have this like fake dating thing going on where he like teaches her how to date, and this book is just so cute, and I love Will and Annie. And I would say that Will is up there with Will Herondale from the Infernal Devices trilogy. So he's very high up there in my favorite like fictional men list. So this ended up being like my favorite read for this year so far. I know that this has had some mixed reviews, but I personally really loved it. It felt like my perfect romance. So yeah, those were my favorite reads so far this year. And let me know in the comments down below what your favorite reads are, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!